Have you ever noticed how good it feels when someone depends on you? They call when something goes wrong. They ask for your advice. At work, you're the person everyone turns to. In your family or friendships, you're the one who fixes things, listens, helps, and holds everything together. And somewhere along the way, being useful can start feeling like proof that you matter. That's why being needed can feel like being loved. But there is an important difference between being valued for who you are and being valued mainly for what you provide. Understanding that difference can protect your self-worth without making you cold, distant, or unwilling to help. Sometimes the pattern begins quietly. Maybe you've spent years being dependable. You solve problems before anyone asks. You make yourself available. You rarely say, "I can't do that today," because disappointing someone feels worse than exhausting yourself. And helping people is a good thing. The problem begins when helping becomes the way you measure your worth. Have you ever caught yourself thinking this way? If they need me, I matter. If I stop helping, maybe they'll stop reaching out. If I say no, maybe they'll see me differently. Now your kindness carries pressure. You aren't simply giving because you choose to. You're giving because being necessary makes you feel secure. This can happen anywhere. At work, you may accept every extra responsibility because being the indispensable employee makes you feel important. With family, you may become the person who manages every problem because you fear what happens when you step back. With someone you trusted, you may tolerate an unequal connection because at least being needed makes you feel included. And this is why being needed can feel like being loved becomes psychologically important. Need creates attention. Need creates contact. Need creates a role for you. But none of those automatically creates genuine care. Someone can appreciate what you do without deeply appreciating who you are. That realization doesn't require bitterness. It requires clarity. Try asking yourself a different question. If I stopped solving everything, would I still feel valued here? You don't have to test people or suddenly withdraw your kindness. Just notice. Notice who asks how you are doing. Notice who respects your limits. Notice who stays connected when you have nothing useful to offer. Real self-worth grows when your value no longer depends entirely on being indispensable. You can serve others with generosity and still have boundaries. You can be dependable without carrying everyone. And you can say no sometimes without turning it into evidence that you're selfish. That isn't becoming less caring. That's learning to care without disappearing inside the role of being needed. There is another reason this pattern can be difficult to recognize. Being the helper feels safer than being the person who needs help. When you're always giving, you're in familiar territory. You know what to do. Listen, fix, encourage, provide. But receiving requires something different. You have to admit you're tired. You have to let someone see that you don't have everything handled. You may have to say, "I need support too." For someone who has built an identity around being strong, that can feel surprisingly uncomfortable. Do you ever wonder why this keeps happening to you? Why people constantly bring you their problems, yet you still feel alone when you're struggling? Sometimes people have learned that you'll always give. But sometimes you've also learned to hide the part of yourself that needs care. That doesn't mean blaming yourself. It means recognizing what you can change. Healthy connection has room for both people to matter. You shouldn't have to earn care by constantly proving your usefulness. And emotional healing may involve learning that receiving support doesn't make you weak, demanding, or less valuable. Start small. When you're tired, say you're tired. When you cannot help, be respectful but honest. When someone offers genuine support, resist the instinct to immediately say, "I'm fine." Let kindness reach you too. This is where patience and humility become powerful. You don't need to keep score. You don't need to demand perfect equality in every moment. Life has seasons when one person genuinely needs more support than another. But over time, healthy bonds should contain respect, gratitude, consideration, and space for your humanity too. That's where inner peace begins replacing the anxiety of constantly proving your place. You stop asking, "How useful am I to them?" and begin noticing, "Can I be myself here?" That shift changes everything. Because your worth was never supposed to disappear the moment somebody stopped needing something from you. So, why being needed can feel like being loved often comes down to something deeply human. Being needed gives us a role, and having a role can make us feel secure. But you are more than the problems you solve, more than the advice you give, more than the responsibilities you carry. Keep your generosity, keep your patience, keep showing up for people when it is right and within your ability. But also practice the self-discipline to recognize when helping has become a way of earning your worth. Let yourself receive, let yourself rest, let yourself have boundaries, and be grateful for the people who value your presence, not merely your usefulness. Real connection doesn't require you to become indispensable. It gives you enough safety to simply be human. Share your thoughts below. How are you healing today? And wherever you are in that process, keep choosing clarity, humility, self-respect, and peace.